Morning, welcome to Greenwood Bonsai Studio here today. I want to do a video and showing you some new arrivals here at Greenwood Bonsai. And on YouTube we've noticed there's two things that are quite popular on Instagram, Facebook and YouTube: bikinis and puppies. You'll be pleased to know we've chose the latter rather than the bikinis. So we've got a little puppy to show you. This is a new arrival at Greenwood. Her name's Cleo and she's going to keep Yuji company. And she's had her first week at work in the studio, and we're teaching her to growl at people if they don't spend any money. So she's been accompanying us, finding her way around the studio. She's been nibbling a few of the trees, trying to trim them a little bit, and we're working on her being friendly and nice to people. So we've also got quite a few new trees in. We've got a lot of black pines and white pines that have just come out of quarantine, and I've spent the last week working on them. A few of the larger trees are going on the website in the specimen bonsai category. So for those of you in the UK, if you want to have a look there, you're more than welcome. We've got a couple of trees in here to show you. There's a large Japanese black pine that we've recently worked on. It was just in a training pot when it came into us, so we've potted it into a ceramic pot. I've got a few lovely little black pines for those of you that prefer more sort of show-in size trees. I'm just working on these today. There's a few of them to go on the website in the coming days. And here we've got a big black pine that's going to be on display here at Greenwood in the future. And I've done little bits of work on this already, and I just want to show you the work we're going to do on the foliage pads. So this Japanese black pine, recently been imported and just come out of quarantine. Beautiful old tree, huge platelets of bark on it. Nice movement, good taper. We're considering what pot to put it into. There's a bit of damage on this pot that it was imported in. We've got a couple of alternatives we might be looking at in the next couple of days. We might be able to just slip it out of this pot into a slightly larger pot. So over the last few days, I spent an hour or so yesterday working on this tree, and we've got it against a plain white background so you can see what we've been up to. And you should see that I've trimmed and thinned out this foliage pad here, this one just here, this section, this one that's the front of this lower section here, and all around the back. But this one here I haven't done, and we haven't done any of the top of the tree. So we'll show you what we've been doing when we get a tree in like this. We always work on trees like this, you know, whether it's a specimen tree or even if it's a small tree. Before they go out for sale, they always pass by my pair of scissors so we can give them a tidy up and a trim to prepare them for retail. We don't believe in just putting trees like this out on the bench. They can always be enhanced. So here what we've got, this is already wired, but we've got quite a lot of unruly growth and long growth. So firstly, I'm going through this foliage, pulling out any dead needles, any brown needles, and some of these old needles are excessively long. In this case, I know it's a bit of a contentious issue, but in this case, I'm just going to trim the needles back ever so slightly. I'm not doing it to all of them, just to some of them. Some of the long growth I'm taking back. Some of the old needles can just be removed, and by trimming them back, it's just going to tidy it up. The tips of the needles will go brown, but this tree isn't being exhibited at a show or anything. So at the moment, trimming them back is not really an issue, and it will make it look tidier. So we put it out on display, it will look better, and it will let more light in. So these needles that are hanging down, we're just pinching those back, and because it's wired, we can also position the branches just a little bit like this. There's a couple of little dead stubs there that just want taking back. So we've done the front of this foliage pad, so let's work our way backwards and go into the top here. See this old growth, just nip the needles back, pulling out the dead needles and going through each cluster of foliage. These old needles we can take off if we don't need them. leaving the new growth, shortening some of these back. And it's a few hours to do it on this tree, to go in, pulling out the growth that's growing down. You can see it makes quite a difference to the tree, makes it look a lot tidier, a lot more uniform, much better presented. And then whether this tree is on display or whether this tree is going out for sale, it just looks a bit more ready for it. So here there's quite a lot of growth. Here there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shoots. It's quite strong, a bit lumpy. I think the best thing to do with that is to shorten it back like that and go with this finer growth here to get rid of that heaviness at the tip. Similar sort of thing here. We're taking off some of this long growth that we don't need, splitting these sections up, just shortening back long needles, pinching the others out, taking this growing tip out here, back to finer, more delicate growth, just wiring that along a little bit. The wiring on this is actually quite good, it's been quite well applied, it isn't cutting in. Often when we import trees like this, by the time we get them, the wire's cutting in and it has to be removed. This has still got, looks like it's got a few months left in it before it starts to get too tight. So that means we can position some of the foliage. Obviously it's been imported from Japan and things move as they're shipped over. So often when you get trees, the branches are a little bit, can be a bit scrunched up. Let's bring this section down a bit into here. Take off this little shoot here, this little bit, trim that section there back. You know, in the UK, black pines normally only flush once, sometimes 1.5 flushes. I know a lot of you, they'll flush twice if you're in warmer climates, but in the UK they tend not to. Although we did have a very warm summer last year, some of them did flush twice, but usually they don't. So just with a little bit of pruning, look, we've now got this foliage pad much tidier and neater. And once you start trimming this, once you do this first foliage pad, the density that you do that to, yeah, and how you do it, really you have to follow that throughout the whole tree. You can see now this has been done, this is similar density here, and then the section I haven't done, this section here, and all up over this top and this apex now needs doing. And then we're just going to do that, and then we'll show you a little clip of the tree, the finished image once it's done. Okay. So I've just finished up working on this tree. As I said earlier, showed you doing a reduction, showed me doing a reduction of the foliage, of taking back the longer needles, some of the new long growth that we didn't need, cutting out some dead sections, and we'd already started doing this. We showed this foliage pad being done, and I've continued up the tree, getting to the same sort of density. So now it's all looking ready to go out on the bench. It's going to go out on display initially. There's some others that have gone out for sale recently. If you're interested in adding a large Japanese black pine or white pine to your bonsai collection. Beautiful example with a big platelets of bark. We're still undecided with a pot, but that's it for the pruning for now. But I can have a look in future at a couple of pots that we might find that are more suitable for the tree. And just wanted to give you a little conclusion as to what the tree looks like now. And if you have a look at it here, back to what it looked like before we started, you can see the difference it's made. This has been about, I would say, probably about 3 hours work from start to finish in this case, to take the tree from its imported stage to what we see now in front of us. Thank you very much.